Welcome to the Victory Multisport Podcast. This is Coach Sarge, and I'm with Coach Kenny.
Good morning, man.
Hey, good morning, Coach. And our very special guest today, Coach Hayden. How are you doing, Coach?
I'm doing good. Woo! Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So when we were talking before we hit the record on this podcast, Kenny already came up with a nickname for you, Coach. So
I was either going to be the professor of endurance, the doctor of endurance. Like something's going to come out today.
Well, yours is, I'm thinking about yours too. So you just wait. You got one for me. I'm going to get one for you.
It's coming. It'll show up itself somewhere in here.
Yeah, absolutely. So Coach Hayden, Victory Multisport coach, founder of Hill Pursuit.
It's a great podcast, by the way.
Great podcast of his own. Has graciously decided to come on with the Victory Multisport podcast for us because we really wanted to, unpack his life as it sits today. He told us before the podcast he's an open book, so we're going to go through a lot of stuff here. But educated as a exercise phys, if I said that right?
Yeah.
PhD and a professor. And so you live this, you breathe it, you teach other people how to do performance enhancing education and training and so forth. But also USAT certified coach for us and an Ironman yourself. So tell us a little bit more about how you decided this as you were growing up. Like what caused you to go down the path of education that you went down, and then how was your athletics as you grew up in the sport?
First, I was driving in today, and it occurred to me because I'm listening to a college football podcast that I only listen to college football podcasts and this podcast. So, got to give you credit there.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate you having me on. So, thank you. Okay, so how'd I get into this? So, that's actually a funny story because I had this conversation with somebody actually yesterday because I hosted a strength and conditioning clinic out in Wilkes-Barre yesterday, and someone asked me something similar. They were like, how long have you been doing this? How long have you been teaching here or there or whatever? And asked me about my my coaching background too. So it's really funny because when I was in high school, I was super into music, and I still am. Fun fact, I'm a drummer. So
you bang the drums?
Oh yeah, dude, I rip the drums.
Nice. You have them at your house?
I have an electronic kit, and let me backtrack. I'm just messing with you guys a little bit. I do play the drums, but it's been quite a while. But so the last time I played seriously was probably 4 years ago. I actually drummed at my church, but that was before I moved out here, and I haven't.
Did you spin the sticks? Like if you were really feeling it?
Oh yeah, I chucked them out in the crowd, dude. I'm breaking noses.
At church?
No.
At church? No, because remember Big Cat, Ronnie? Big Cat used to play the drums, and I would always be like...
He's flipping his sticks around.
I'd be like, dude, you threw one up in the air and caught it and then kept hitting. He's like...
I could, but I wouldn't do that at church.
He's like, I don't know if I did, but maybe I did. I don't know.
We know Hayden so much. They're definitely putting him behind one of those plexiglass.
I have been behind the plexiglass.
Because you're so loud on it, you can't stop yourself. Dude, nobody could hear anything else. The drums take over the
pipes.
whole...
Those pipes hitting the drums.
Dude, serious forearm burn when you're coming up.
There you go.
So that's something new we just learned.
I got plenty of new nuggets for you today. So anyway, high school, super into music. I actually thought I was going to major in music in college. So I started taking, we were really lucky. We had AP music theory classes, and I thought I wanted to major in music. So this is the next step, taking a college level music theory class. So went to the first one. It was fun. And then I just naturally went into AP Music Theory 2 as a senior. And all of a sudden they got me doing stuff that I have no desire to do in my life. I had to transpose music in real time and sing it as I was transposing it. And it was not fun. And I vividly remember that as okay, I'm just a drummer. I'm not a musician anymore. I don't want to do this with my career. So literally as a senior, I was okay, what do I want to do? And I'm looking around at the role models in my life, and they were health and PE teachers and coaches and people like that. And I'm like, this would be awesome. I would love to just roll into school, talk to kids about exercise, maybe coach a team or something one day. So I went into health and phys ed as a freshman. And then ultimately I was I don't really want to teach health and phys ed, and I didn't want to teach, I know, and I have a ton of respect for people who do this, but I did not want to teach kids that young either. Mm-hmm. So I kind of realized early that I either wanted to just like coach full time or potentially continue with a PhD, and then that opens opportunities to, teach adults, which is what I do now, which is great. But, so yeah, that's kind of how I got into the track of exercise physiology, I guess. Mm-hmm. Let me think what else I have on that front.
Well, so you do a lot of trials. I know that some of our athletes have been invited to come for some of your research trials, or you tell me if I'm doing the wrong thing.
No, you're right. So, well, backtracking, I guess a little bit. I wasn't 100% sure I wanted to teach, I guess, but I met somebody at an internship in my undergrad, and I started coaching athletes as a senior undergrad through my master's program, and then one full year after that. So I had like 3.5 years of like really good experience coaching athletes, high school, college, professional, but I say professional, but it was actually mainly golfers, believe it or not.
Okay.
And then also like overweight clients, just recreationally active people, which was also a lot of fun. Group coaching, personal training, whatever. Met my wife, decided that like we were at a pivotal point in our relationship, and it was like she was going to continue school in nursing in Ohio, and I was just like coaching at this place in Western PA, and I'm like, well, now what? Like, so I was like, okay, I'll start looking for jobs out there. I like telling this story because, to be honest, like I kind of just fell into my PhD, which anybody can do this stuff. Anybody, just like Iron Man, anybody can do this stuff. So I like telling the story for that reason. Like and literally anybody can do it if you have time and you have the resources to stay in school, and you're hungry to educate yourself. Mm-hmm. So I applied to a couple PhD programs that were close enough. I got it accepted to one. I got a graduate assistantship, so I made a little bit of money. I kept coaching. I was at Kent State, and I didn't spend a ton of time down there, but I volunteered my time in that weight room, and I got a lot of really, really good experience from that coach. We actually just texted the other day randomly about some other student. So like I made some really good connections there. And then of course you get into your PhD program, and that's where the research comes in. It's like, it's way different than a master's. I did research as a master's student too, but it's kind of like, not to downplay it, but it's just not, it's not as professional as a doc program. So you're just kind of messing around. You create an idea off the top of your head, and you're like, oh, this will be cool. Let's answer this question. And then you kind of just, you get your hand held through that process. You get to a doc program. I meet my advisor, and she's like, this is your lab for a couple of years. You're running everything. Oh, and you have to create a dissertation and do that too.
That's right.
It's like day one. So I'm like learning how to operate this lab, and like the stuff that was in place, I'm taking it over. I'm creating new projects. So you learn a lot on the fly that way too. There's good and bad to that, but it was really good for me. And I found like a passion for that, and like just human performance, and, different elements of how you can mess with people a little bit to see like how it's going to impact their performance, I guess. So
correct.
Things like sleep deprivation, things like altitude or simulated altitude, things like hot and cold, and, long or short exposures, long or short exercise. So I kind of just have always been doing things like that. I got to Grove City, and they didn't have like the exact lab setup that I was used to, which is completely fine. I'm not a prima donna or anything, but in any case, I haven't done environmental research with like hot, cold altitude stuff in forever. So I've kind of gravitated more towards human performance stuff. I have a background in strength and conditioning, so I have like a few lifting studies under my belt. And I started getting into endurance cycling studies with a colleague of mine who is really, really big into like dietary interventions. And I have connections, obviously, through Victory Multisport, Pittsburgh Tri Club, and just being local to the area, with people who cycle the way we need them to cycle for these projects.
Correct,
now.
yeah.
So yeah, to your point, I'm calling on Victory people to participate in some of these studies if they include based on like their age, their level of competition, some physiological metrics that we need for like inclusion and stuff like that. But it's been so much fun.
That's good.
That's like how I got to know a couple of our athletes on deeper levels. Believe it or not, a couple of those guys came into the lab, and they're coming in. They're not just coming in once; they're coming in like 6 times. So and we have multiple hours with them in our lab. So I've actually developed a couple of relationships with Victory athletes just through the research that I've been doing at Grove.
Yeah, all the athletes that I know of that have participated have spoke highly of it. They say they work for sure when they're on the actual apparatus trying to put those watts down for you or whatever it is. But I think they enjoy the opportunity to learn some things themselves, be exposed to a deeper relationship with you and with the science behind the physiology of the sport, and endurance, and all those things. But I think they just like working hard. So they probably provide subject
or the
matter.
McDonald's up there, because I would get pictures of like honestly Leak and Sipple.
Oh my gosh,
going to McDonald's.
Oh, like I'm getting texts from Leak. Sip just smacked all these watts for Hayden, and we're smashing the Big Macs.
I literally have to look away when they send texts like that, because it's
I think
like
we're
the
supposed
one
to be doing
thing,
nutritional intervention.
Like the one
right?
thing they're not supposed to be doing is ripping a Big Mac
Right after.
Oh my gosh!
I get it all. I get everything.
At least it wasn't a cigarette, though. Because that's also possible. But
I bet it was a couple Zins, though,
could have put
right?
some Zins.
Definitely
Some
Zins in
for
there.
sure.
Oh my gosh.
There's no doubt.
Well, but it's not just those two. You've had other athletes come through, right?
Yeah.
I mean, those are the class clowns, if anything, of the group.
I
right?
only share what I get, and I love going up there. There's a big McDonald's right off the exit.
Yeah, the male athletes, the female athletes. You've had a good cross section of people come through.
Yeah.
So how does that help you? Obviously, having your test subjects be able to produce the data for you that you're doing the research on is important. You got to have somebody to do the work to get the data.
Yeah. That's like the hardest part in research, is finding people who want to do this stuff, because I'll just give a brief explanation of a tough one that we recently had to recruit for. And then I'll tell you about one that might be happening in the near future. So one that those guys and a couple others participated in was they came in and they did some sort of max testing. And then we calculated like a sub max intensity of like 70 or 75% of not their power necessarily, but a VO2 max power correlation, something. And so they're just cycling at like this submaximal intensity, 70, 75%. I could tell you the watts, but it doesn't matter because it's relative. So 70 to 75%, and they're just going until they can't. Now for like someone like me, I might go like 90 minutes there, and that's fine. That's great, whatever. There's people going like 2.5 hours and it's very hard, and it's limitless. It's go until you have to stop or until you can't hold anymore. Mm-hmm. Then there was I want to say it was like a 20-minute break. We gave them a bolus of something. It was either like a high carb or it was like a placebo. And then they did it again. And they did another time to exhaustion at the same intensity. And we had some people go like a minute, and we had some people go like another 45 minutes. And who wants to sign up for that?
Right.
Maybe we want to sign up for that because it's like we like to do hard things, and it's like, oh, let me just see if I can do it, or how hard it actually is. Like, that's fine. That's like a normal way for us to think about things, but the average person does not think like that. So if you do a study like that in like recreationally active people, it's hard to get people. So we have to set like an inclusion criteria where the person, they're not only super fit, but because of that level of fitness, they're also like, they have a different mentality or approach to like what they want to do. Mm-hmm. Because sure, we're paying them a little bit, we're compensating them because it was a long intervention, dietary intervention. So we paid them $1,000 or whatever, but $1,000 doesn't go so far when you have to change the way that you're eating for 6 weeks. So that was like the best we could do. But so that's one example. Another example, we're potentially piloting to do 2 blinded half marathons on treadmills. You're either drinking something or you're drinking a placebo. Mm-hmm. Who the heck wants to do that? How many people want to run a half marathon if you're not a half marathoner or marathoner? 0.
Oh yeah.
And then even if you are, who wants to do it on a treadmill?
The mystery sauce too, right?
Yeah. Then you have that level of mystery sauce, and then you have the level of you have no clue how far you are. Oh. It's blinded.
Oh. Geez.
To see like how fast you can do it. Like you might bonk at mile 8, and then you're like, oh, you got to keep going, dude. You're not there yet. You know, like if you're an athlete and you run like that, you probably have an idea. But dude, that's gonna suck.
But even still, like no heads up display, no watch, no nothing, because everybody's using data
covering.
Today.
Yeah.
Nobody's running a half marathon
it's
without
blood
knowing.
data is what we're looking at with something like that. It's blood data.
But even from the athlete on a treadmill, that the time continuum is off.
Yeah, way off.
The world's not passing you by. The scenery doesn't change. You're staring at the wall, the same spot.
Yep.
Right?
You might fall into a groove where like you think you're running 7:30s. If you're that athlete,
I do it every time I'm on the treadmill.
It might be 6:30s, and you might screw yourself real bad. You know, so I don't know 100%. That study's not actually happening right now, but it's just in conversation.
Well, anybody out there listening, if you really want to sign up for half marathon blind,
please,
mystery
let me
drink,
know.
half marathon, we're taking applications.
We're literally hoping to get like 3 to 5 people just to volunteer and
have
it be like a pilot study.
We're
going to get you 3 or 5 people.
I know, and like I have names in my head, but even it would still be hard to convince.
Who sets the pace on that?
The athlete.
It's blinded, so they can. It's like it'd be like getting on a treadmill, and me telling you to just run a mile as fast as you can. You know, as you're getting closer, you're just tick, 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 going faster and faster and faster. It's the same exact concept, just for a half marathon. Run it as fast as you can.
Oh,
yeah.
So it's as fast as you.
As fast as you
personally think you can run it,
but you're blinded,
and you don't know how far you've been, and you don't know how far you have left.
Oh,
you don't know how long you've actually been on there, other than your just body clock.
Yep. Yeah.
You know who would be
Kenny doesn't run. We know that hashtag Kenny doesn't run.
You know who would probably do that in a second? Tyler Bernard. In a second.
Who's this? I don't know Tyler Bernard.
He was a Victory athlete.
He's a former Victory athlete.
Ironman.
Tyler, if you're listening, let me know.
We'll get him in there. Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, enough about that stuff. That stuff's crazy.
Well, I guess the point is you've got a convergence of what your educational background is from, your professional life, your side hustle with coaching, and now your connection with athletes that help feed some of that other stuff. So it's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Pretty cool space that you're in.
It's cool.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky. People, so this clinic I hosted yesterday, I host this strength clinic once a year. And we move it all over the state. It was in Wilkes-Barre, which is a little bit past State College. And someone comes up to me because of, if you don't know me, I'm a big Penn State fan and college football fan just in general. Someone comes up to me and they're like, okay, what would it take? Job, faculty position, research position opens at Penn State. Are you going there? And I said quickly, I was like, no. Like, sure, I love the school. I love the football team. Like that's great. I love where I'm at right now. It's awesome. I love where I'm at. I love the kids that I teach. I love the town that I live in. I love the relationships and connections that I have, ranging from you guys to my colleagues, to my students, to my athletes, to my neighbors. Yeah. So
it's really interesting when that happens.
A great job. I have a great job.
When that happens, it's the best.
Yeah. This is like dream job status is where I'm at. So it was a quick answer, even though it wasn't always a quick answer. I would have probably pursued something like that in the past, but no, I love where I'm at.
I think that's a pretty neat correlation. I would say the same thing about Kenny with your career and where you are in life with your neighbors, your friends, your athletes, your business, your side hustle, all of that. I would say that about myself. I've only been at my company 32 years. I think I'm probably going to stay.
Yeah.
Right.
You're not going to flag it?
No, right. Scott's the same way, right? With what he does and where he's at in life and his family and kids and growing up and season tickets to Pitt and all that, right?
Awesome.
So
That's awesome.
he's in that space, and probably all of our other coaches are in the same world. So I don't know if that's a side benefit of now it's time to pick up something else. Now it's time to extend ourselves. Now it's time to give back in different ways. And this is one of the ways we give back is we coach people to do things that we did and to find like-minded people that want to do hard things and help them through that hard process. It's not going to make it really any easier. You just go faster. And it hurts just the same, no matter what. You pick a flat course, you pick a hilly course, you pick whatever you're going to pick.
Oh, yeah.
And,
flat versus hilly. What a great conversation.
The pain is the same. You just go faster.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're working. So that's pretty cool. So, well, we love having you around. We love having you on our team, working with our athletes, and, whether it's directly coaching our Victory athletes in the endurance sports world, or it's referring them to you for strength and conditioning and getting that part of their athletic makeup, corrected or fixed or, improved. It's definitely beneficial to them for sure, for those that really need it and don't have much exposure with it. Maybe they don't know where to start, and you can help them with that. So that's awesome.
Well, finding him for me was a big, big get. Literally, and how I stumbled into him was I was listening to the Hill Pursuit, and I was listening to his podcast. It was at that time it was you and Mitch, and now I think Ken's more involved on the nutrition side. But I'm listening, and then I'm watching your race recaps, and I think you were getting ready for Ohio at that time. So you put a course preview out, and I'm sharing it to these guys, and I'm like, man,
nice! I didn't know you did that.
Oh yeah,
cool.
I'm like, we really need to pursue this guy. And I sent you a message. I'm like, hey man, we're going to be in Ohio. We're going to be cheering for you. Meanwhile, he's probably like, who's this creep? Sending me direct messages, talking about my podcast, cheering for me in Ohio. And we were, man, everywhere we saw you.
Yeah.
We were going nuts. And I didn't even know at that point you were coaching. I knew Hill Pursuit was strength and conditioning. I knew you were in the triathlon world. I didn't know you would become legitimately, arguably a top coach inside of Victory, which is amazing. I mean, everything that we always hear is, Coach Hayden's more than a coach. He's a friend. And your athletes would run through the wall for you. And that's the greatest thing. Cause I think you lead by example, you lead on the course, you show up in hard moments, and you're there, and they love that and they follow that. And that's brilliant.
I appreciate it. Yeah. The intro pre-Ohio was pretty funny. I don't know if I technically thought you're some crazy person, but I maybe half thought that you were a crazy person. And then that quickly changed when I saw you on the course 10 times and you're hyping me up and you're like, yo, I got you. You're doing good. Yo, I got you next time around. I'll be over there on that corner or something, or there's our tent or whatever you were saying. And then I was convinced you were a crazy person.
Oh yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. But
that's my crazy
showing up everywhere.
No, it was dude, this dude's hyping me up. I don't even know if I was there with wait, that was Ohio. Yeah. So I did have some family there. I had some family there.
Right. Cause you've got ties back to that.
Yeah. But that was the first time I did Ohio, and they didn't know what they were doing. So I actually didn't see them almost at all. I think once on the run. Because they didn't know how to navigate the spectator job, right? The spectator role. So it actually was super helpful to see you. It was cool. And then I started seeing a kit or two, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's them. That's them, I guess. That's pretty cool. And then from there, I had a handful of athletes then, just a handful, and that's all it needed to be. You guys know, and this probably hasn't even really changed for me a whole lot. I don't really promote a whole lot. I've never really had. This is just super fun for me. So, any athletes that came to me or come to me now organically, it's just sweet. Yeah, I'd love to help you. Whatever. I do, I have some stuff, but very, very little compared to other people who do this. But So yeah, it caught me off guard that anyone was even like listening to my stuff, which was cool. But
I was in on all of it, man.
yeah, that's neat. That's neat. That's
like the one episode I loved when I found out that Mitch was like highly skilled in like ground and pound, like fighting and tactical.
Dude, he is. He's highly skilled in things that we probably can't even talk about. I'm not gonna lie. So it's pretty cool. I wish we had more time to like get him on and sit down, but my life is busy. His is probably just as busy.
Hey, we're rolling into our third season on the podcast. We got plenty of runway. We'll bring Mitch and you back.
We should figure that out. Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, honest to God, what's really interesting is you may not think people are listening, and we get it all the time. Like, man, that one episode was really good. Or an athlete will send me a video of them running with our YouTube channel up. But I think that's what's really cool is we were up at Penn State this past year, maybe the first year it was open, and someone that didn't even know us or we didn't know them comes up to our tent and they're like, your race preview was incredible. And I'm like, that's one of our,
awesome.
I go, that's actually one of our coaches,
that's
but
really
that's,
cool.
That's Coach Hayden. That's his podcast. Awesome. So you may think, like, hey, I'm in the car. I'm doing a car cast, which I love when you do those. Morgan's probably driving and Hayden's in there talking about it. I actually don't think Morgan's even in the car. It's just you.
I don't think she has been in the car. I've done a handful of them recently.
If she was in the car, would she think it was a little bit weird?
She'd be like throwing me looks and stuff. Yeah, she absolutely would be.
You're trying to give all the kids a dirty look in the back seat. Like, shut up. I'm trying to do a podcast.
Dude, come into my car with my kids and my family. There's no chance a podcast is happening with the kids in the car. Yeah. Zero chance.
I can imagine. Yeah. But that is the interesting thing, I think, in the world is it's social media has given so many layers that people can get information.
Absolutely.
And the things that you do for your race previews are incredible.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
I love it so much.
That Penn State one was so much fun because being that it was like the first year that they had that race, and like I love State College area, I knew I had like I don't even remember how many athletes because it was now two seasons.
We had 27 total athletes in that race that year.
Unreal. And I had a handful of them.
Right,
you did.
And they all wanted to coordinate a ride on the course. So I'm like, heck yeah, let's
like
do this
pre-ride. Right?
Yeah. So I'm like, absolutely, let's do this. This will be so much fun. So we even wanted to. I don't know why we didn't swim. Maybe we did swim. I don't even remember. I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember. But so we did the ride, and I'm like, well, I'm just gonna use my GoPro, and I hillbillied my cell phone to my bike also, and I just took voice recordings while I was on the course, and it was easy. Like I don't want to say it was. I guess I shouldn't say it was easy. Of course, like the course itself isn't easy, but I literally would just turn my phone on and hit record, and then it'd be like, oh, these last 5 miles were like this, or be careful of this turn. That's it.
Yeah.
That's, ironically, right? Be careful of this turn.
It all together and made it into the file.
Yeah.
That was just it. Like Angie Pinion was getting ready for that race.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Angie, you got to listen to Hayden's podcast because he's telling you at mile 28, this is picking up. Yep. Watch this here. It was so detailed. It was awesome.
You can develop, like, just for that one specifically, you could listen to that whole thing and develop a really good bike strategy. Just because
that course absolutely
you need a
strategy, right? Yeah. And you need to know where that left hand turn is, or you're going to be coming down that hill and hit the hay bales.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Well, the right hand turn after the big hill, and then the left hand turn that I hit the hay bales on. Yeah, that one. But I think to your point, like we don't know how many people are listening. I'm not someone that even goes in and looks. Like the podcasting service that I use will like from time to time be like, oh, congrats, like you're at 3,000 listens or downloads. I'm like, oh, I had no idea because I don't ever like go in and look. And it's like, oh, cool. Obviously someone's listening somewhere. And the first time it ever happened to me, well, okay, you were the first time. I guess the second time was probably a year later, and someone at a race before the race started found me. And I didn't have an HP kit because I didn't have them. I don't even remember what I was wearing. I was probably wearing a Victory kit. And he's like, "Oh, hey, I listen to Hill Pursuit all the time." I'm like, "Who are you?"
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, and that was like so cool. And he was like, "Oh, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. I listened to how you did on Ohio last year and blah, 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 telling me all this stuff. And then I found him after the race. He was like, you know, we talked before the race and knew that we would finish like kind of close. So I don't remember the order or anything, but we found each other after, and like that was really cool for me. So
that's awesome.
I mean, you're right though, dude. Like, you don't know who's listening. It could be one person, you know, 1 week or 1 month, and it could be 1,000 the next.
Yeah.
And you just never know. So that's why I just keep doing it. And, you know, I don't do it regularly enough anymore, but I'm still going to keep doing it because you never know who you're helping with whatever the topic is, you know? So
well, it's weird because we literally, and it's funny in a way, we had to talk about, Coach Bowles was saying something about off season, enjoying like cross country skiing. Mm-hmm. And then remember that weekend we had like a heavy following in Switzerland because of
Sweden.
No.
Norway. Yes. Norway and Sweden popped
great.
Off on that podcast.
That is so funny.
Additional followers, right? Like 3% of our listeners were in Norway and Sweden.
No, and Hayden, I'm not kidding you. And just to show you the power of social media. So the Victory Multisport Instagram page was like 1,500. We're now shy of 1,800 in a span of like 1 week, because I posted that video in Maryland with the water going up to their knees.
Yes.
Hayden,
I saw a ton of people watched it.
The high tide.
Hayden, I didn't have one different hashtag that I normally would use. For whatever reason, this thing has almost 1 million views.
It's wild.
Like Iron Man's like, hey, can you take that video down? Like, and there's people fighting about it. People talking about there was sewage in the water. People are talking about that was fake. That was from the 2016 race. And I'm like, okay, here. So I'm going to tag the 3 people that raced it, that gave me the video, ask them what race they did. Like, it was insane. But to your point, social media, the reach, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Dude, I would love to dive into that race with you guys, but we don't need to do that right now. But man, that was intense. That was intense.
Yeah.
So wild.
Well, it definitely,
that's a swim. That's a swim bike swim.
Right. Yeah, correct. It is.
That's
intense. We had a pre-meeting in Lake Placid with the team that was up there, and we talked about, as much as you prepare, as much as you personally are ready for the race is going to push back. The race is going to push back in some way. Maryland just happens to push back in its own unique way, whether it's the swim itself being shortened, tides, currents, winds, weather, jellyfish, or in this case, the run having a flood, right? Or you have to trudge through the water and get your run in. So, and that's a 3-loop course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got to do it multiple times if you hit the high tide, I guess. So
it irks me because the one comment on there was like, oh, that didn't really matter. That was the back of the Packers. You're like, who are you?
Yeah. Get the heck out of here.
Show me your Ironman time.
Exactly.
Show me your Ironman. Show me what someone was like. Why are they walking? Isn't the point to compete? Like, okay, you try to run in knee-high water 135 miles into the race.
Yeah.
Tell me how it goes for you.
Yeah.
Come on,
There's always going to be that. That's the only downside of the social media, is dealing with the trolls.
Yeah, that's annoying.
So, fantastic history, fantastic just what you give back, what you're providing to the sport, both professionally, personally, and here in Western PA, all the athletes that come through, either being coached or testing with you and providing your trial data. But one of the big things that we really wanted to bring out on this cast, was a little bit more about your family.
Yeah.
And, this year, 2024, maybe late 23, I believe, into 24, not starting off well for you, as with some bad news and some things. So I'll let you tell the story because I don't want to overspeak for you, but I want to get into Liv's Promise and what caused you to create a foundation for childhood cancer.
Yeah, of course. So this is like one of the absolute worst and also the best parts of like this year. One of the worst times, but also some of the best times for my family. I could probably say the same just for myself personally.
Sure.
I can probably say the same for Morgan. I know I can say it for Olivia. I'm sure one day our our bigger kids will understand it better and embrace it. And I'm sure it'll be like a victory for them too. But, that was part of the challenge as well. But yeah, sure. Let's start from the beginning. So it was probably, November, December of 23. And Olivia is
9 months.
Yeah. She was actually diagnosed at 9 months. So around 7 and 8 months old, she was just like the fussiest baby, which, we have 2 other kids. We're like, she's a fussy baby, whatever.
No biggie.
We'll get through it. She'll grow out of it, which scares the crap out of me, by the way, that we said that. But, ironically, it actually scares me more now for other people than it does for me. Thank God. But, November, December, super fussy. Eventually, we started feeling like a bump on her spine, and it was worrisome. And we're like, maybe she knocked something. Did you see when this happened? No, I didn't, but I thought I felt it the other day. Did you see when it happened? No, like this is the first time I'm feeling it. Like we're having these conversations. At this point, it's just like, this is nothing. Like, it's just like she bumped it. She's got a bruise on her head, and it's not her head, right? But the kid has a bruise on his head, and you can feel it. It was one of those things. No. So it got bad enough. We, I'll skip that part. I'm not gonna, I'll skip. We had an issue with our PCP. We changed doctors, whatever. The PCP did not do us any help. So we're going through it. We're like, what the heck is wrong with our kid? Figure it out. And we're just getting, she's this, no problem. We'll do this. So we're getting ticked off. Thankfully, my wife is a nurse, and she starts asking the doctor she works with what's going on. Didn't take Olivia to the doctors, just like describing it, showing videos of stuff. And thank God for this doctor. I've still never even met her. The doctor's like, get your kid to the ER. So we go to the ER, get admitted. She has cancer. Yep. Happened very, very fast.
Yeah.
We're still just like spinning our wheels. Like, what could this be? Is she just fussy? Like, that stuff's still going.
I remember that
head.
week. I mean, it was like pulling the fire alarm really around here with Kenny and myself, Coach Scott, hearing about you, and you were like, I'm out. I'm done. I got to do this. Like, and we're like, dude, we'll cover you. Don't sweat it. Like, go. Right. Yeah. So I do recall that.
I took the phone call. That was like a Thursday night.
Yeah.
I was coming home from dinner with Say, and
I remember that.
And I answered it, and it was on the speaker, and I heard you in your voice, and it wasn't, hey, dude, I need to talk. It was that type of text, like now. So I called, and I'm like, hey, what's up, man? And you had started it, and immediately the tone changed. And I'll never forget, you had said, can you imagine taking your kid to the doctor when you think you were just getting her looked at? And next thing you know, I'm signing paperwork that she has to start chemo.
Yep.
And to see Say immediately, like tears coming down her eyes, tend to think of, oh my God, it was insane. It was insane. I think it was either late December or January when this
it was
finally call hit.
Yep.
Yeah.
In January, she was diagnosed formally on the 29th of January in 24. And, we spent, I'm not even sure how long we were in the hospital at the initial diagnosis, but those were like, I'm not even going to say days, months, hardest months. I mean, I'll fast forward a little bit and come back. She's cancer free. If people are listening and don't know that, she's cancer free now, which is fantastic. But, even now, like, we still have moments where like we remember things and we remember how we felt during certain times, and like just, I guess, some level of PTSD with the whole thing where we still just kind of lose our minds, and like we're like shaking because we're nervous, or we start crying, or
Mm-hmm.
Like, are we actually out of the woods? Like, we have all these questions still. And like, I know that other people who have dealt with this or who deal with it now, like they're the same way. So, I mean, it's not something that like is like completely over for us. She actually hasn't even had a checkup yet since being, declared cancer free. It's happening in a couple weeks, which is great. But, are we completely out of the woods? Like, we still have the questions, and she needs checkups every 3 months for a couple of years, and then every 4 months for a couple of years, and then twice a year, and then once a year. So she's going to make a home at UPMC Children's until she's like 7 or 8. But I mean, yeah, those initial, like that initial couple months was, we thought we were going to lose her. Mm-hmm. And it was like, it was just awful. It was the worst. I can't even think of anything worse aside from losing her. It was just our whole world. We were just like slogging through every day for like ever. Mm-hmm. Felt like it was wild. Like, oh, we just left the hospital after being there for 6 days, and we have to go back for like another 3 or something. Like, this was a week ago or something. And it's just crazy. Just kept coming and kept coming and kept coming. And right, like the first time, I'm in school, and Morgan's texting me or calling me, and I didn't answer because I'm like giving a lecture, and she kept calling, and I was like, something's going on. And then she just stopped calling and started texting me, and I had to like turn my watch off during a class because it was like distracting me. So then I'm looking after the class, and it was, she's telling me all of this about a tumor. She's using the word tumor. She needs to start chemotherapy is what she's telling me. And I'm like, hold on. Our kid, our 8-9-month-old has cancer. And she just types back, yeah. I'm like, what? Yeah, what? Like, that's like just the worst. The worst. Like, I think cancer is awful. It has to affect or impact everybody. It has to. Like, you guys probably know somebody who's had it. Maybe somebody who's passed away from it. I do also from prior to Olivia's diagnosis, multiple people. It's awful. But like, if it happens to someone who's, 70, 80, you've probably dealt with the idea, if they're a family member, that they're going to pass away one day. Like, they're 80 years old. It's your parent, it's your aunt, it's your uncle, it's your grandparent. I know one day my grandparents aren't going to be around. None of them are anymore, actually, but you can tell yourself that, sure. Right?
Well, it seems more natural at those ages.
Yep.
Seems more natural.
Yep.
Regardless of
you live
the
long
condition.
enough, you probably get it. Right?
No one's going to live forever. So you kind of have a framework to work from.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm certainly not downplaying the seriousness. I'm just, like you said that way better than I did, but that we don't live forever is my point. And if you do live long enough, you're probably going to get it, unfortunately. But
but kids are not supposed to go through that.
Yep, to see that text message from my wife. Well, I had to have like almost passed out, and like my kids were out of the classroom. I literally was just standing in the classroom by myself. I'm like, you have to be joking me. I had to have like been white, and I'm like shaking a little bit now talking about it. Like, this is one of those things, like, I'm not shaking this bad, right? But this is one of those things that like you talk about some of this stuff, and I could go right back to that moment right now because I remember exactly how it felt. And it's just like really scary, really, really scary. There was so much unknown. Literally nothing mattered anymore except just like trying to get her healthy. Like, nothing. I didn't like, I still to some degree think like that.
And as a parent, right, you're not an expert in that field. You feel helpless. Yeah. You want to do more. They're like, no, we got this. Let us do. No. I'm the dad. Yeah. I want to do stuff.
Yeah.
I have to do something. Right. So the frustrations build. I'm sure the emotions are certainly raw and flowing.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
The first week that we're in the hospital with her after diagnosis. So still January into February. I called you during that week. I called another buddy that week, and he lived like on the route. The first night that I went to visit was probably actually the very first night that she was diagnosed. On my way back home, I had to pull over like multiple times because I could not drive my car.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was, that's hard to remember. It was, that was scary. It was really scary. I wanted to like just sleep in my car on the side of the road. It was so hard to do anything, you know? So, I mean, you have to not get over it, but you have to figure out how to deal with that like really, really fast, because Morgan's staying at the hospital. I have 2 kids at home. They need some normalcy in their life.
That was the hard part for me is you're probably so separate of, I need to be there.
Yeah.
But then you have to show up and be regular dad for the other 2. It's so difficult.
Yeah. That was very hard. Thankfully we had some great support from neighbors and friends that are close by, and family that came in to help us, during those couple weeks, I guess, to create some normalcy for them and do fun things for them. And it was literally like, the other thing, like, I'm not angry about this, but I couldn't really take off of work because I don't get to take off of work. Like, I have 3 months off in the summer and a month off every winter. I don't have PTO. I don't have a substitute that comes into my classes. So I had to like keep teaching. And that was probably the second hardest thing. It was so hard to show up and like be enthusiastic about doing my job. And I told my students like right away. I had to tell them because I'm I'm not normal, right?
Well, they're going to see it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't hide from it. There's no way.
The first day I told them, I'm like standing in front of the class, just sobbing, just completely sobbing. And I'm like, I'm going to do my best. And, I know you guys got me. And, I had some really great support from the student body. So yeah, Grove City's private Christian, if you're listening and don't know, like those kids surrounded me and helped big time.
That's good.
That was one of the best parts or shining lights during that darkness, I guess, was those students were just absolutely incredible to me, not just me, my family. They sent stuff to my house. They like made presents for my other 2 kids. They like surrounded my family and supported us. So,
and that's funny. That's a 17, 18, 19-year-old, 20-year-old.
Yep.
That's doing that gets the big picture.
Yeah. That was really, really special for my family. Yeah. That was, and I mean, it helped, but I mean, it was still very, very difficult to show up and think straight. But
kudos to them. Kudos to the school system that they are in, the university that they attend.
Yeah.
Just the environment that's created there for them to thrive and to be able to feel confident to do that for someone that they cared about.
Yeah. And I mean, it wasn't even just them, right? Like my athletes were super awesome with me too. Mm-hmm. Like the Victory athletes were incredible. You guys, of course, were incredible. We had support from everywhere, which was just very, very helpful and comforting. At the same time, it's like, I'll give all this support away. I don't care. like it's a weird battle you're playing. Like as the parent, it's like, thank you for the support. But I also don't give a crap about this support.
Wish I didn't need it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So it's like super grateful. Also like annoyed that it's happening because I just like, didn't want to think about that, and thanking everybody for the support and like smiling and saying thank you. Of course we're grateful, right? But it's just like the weird dynamic of something awful is happening, and now we have all these people we have to reach out to, and but who are helping us out of the kindness of their heart. So yeah, just a weird time. I mean, fast forward, not even a fast forward, but dude, you asked about Liv's Promise. I mean, one of the hardest parts for us, not the hardest part at all, one of the hardest parts was seeing all of the other kids too, that honestly were worse than Olivia, much worse.
Yeah.
In that ICU, in the admitted wing that we were in, we couldn't even leave our room and walk around, because then I'd be crying for somebody else's kid. And it's so sad. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, understood, Hayden. And, that's not why we brought you on here, but we appreciate you sharing that. But I think in there you found some strength, and I think you had an idea of how to make it better, and how to make it better for not just Liv and for your family, but for other families down the road and in the future. And that's what really spawned you creating Liv's Promise, a 501c3 charitable organization.
Hey, Hayden, so one of the things, man, when you told me the news, I called the guys. I'm like, we might have to really go in and help him with all his athletes, because at the time you had 20 you were managing.
Yeah, I had a bit at the time.
You did. And the thing about it was, how can we best line up? In your true fashion, what we know about Hayden is he's never going to quit, and he's never going to stop. And he finishes. Within that first couple weeks, you already had in your mind, I'm taking this fight on. I'm meeting it head on.
Oh, yeah.
I'm creating a foundation. I'm going to raise money. I'm still going to race this year. It might look different. I'm going to get all my athletes ready. In fact, it was, give me more. This is a good balance in my life. It's bringing joy to coach these people. And you turned around in that 1 to 2 months of that first dark steps into this, into you were shining some light. It might not have been full blast. It could have been a flicker. And then the flicker turned into a whole room. And then you lit up this whole area. You united Grove City. Victory became galvanized. There were people showing up in ways, other companies that wanted to just come alongside and be a part of this, because unfortunately cancer touches everybody.
Right.
And especially nobody wants to see it on a kid that can't even form a thought or tell you she's hurt. And now we're fighting that. And so the kudos to you are, man, not only did you not give in and quit and succumb to this, you led your family by an example to say, Morg, follow this. I'm coming. We're doing this. We're going to bring Olivia. We're going to bring whatever this goes. And we know she's clear now, but wherever this thing was going to go, you went all in, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm going to finish this thought now that I can compose myself. But you're walking around and you see all the horrible rooms, and it just touched my heart. Like, we have to try to do something to help other people if we can. Like, this is horrible for us. These people that are reaching out to us, they're helping us. It's making a difference in our life. Like, maybe this is why it happened. Maybe we can do the same. So, that's kind of how Liv's Promise started. Not to solely benefit Olivia, but of course in her name, and the fight that she has gone through, will continue to deal with, for a little bit, more than likely, in terms of just checkups and not complete normalcy, I guess, for a while. But, we want to be able to give to other families who are dealing with this stuff, because, I am super blessed. Like, my wife is a nurse, and not just that, like, she's a bulldog. She's a bulldog. Like, if it's not going our way and we're not getting information we need or something, she will get it. And she, on top of that, she is a nurse, so she knows what information we need. So that's great for us. Walking around that hospital wing, not everybody has that. Not everybody has that in their family. You might have the bulldog, but you might not have a clue
what they're talking about,
what information you need, what she should be doing. And that is what just like tears at my heart sometimes, because if it wasn't Morgan and if it was just me, and I'm a smart dude, I'm not the smartest dude, but I'm a smart dude, I'd be lost. I would be lost having those conversations, knowing what information I should be getting. I would be lost. And I know that probably 8 out of 10 families feel lost, like completely lost. They don't have, someone who can speak the language, and Morgan can speak the language. So, shout out to her, I guess, right, is kind of what I'm saying, but not that she'll listen. I don't know if she does it all.
She's a multi-sport. She's a subscriber.
Yeah, we check.
Oh, dude. Fast forward, we'll come back. She's ripping the half marathon at Sandusky next year.
Heck yeah.
There you go.
As part of a triathlon relay.
There you go.
Well,
she's becoming a multi-sport athlete.
I like the fact that one time she was running at the team camp.
Yeah.
She's like, I got a 5-mile ripper today. And
everything's a ripper.
Everything. Hayden brought a couple things in the Victory. The ripper,
the rusty trash can.
No, something about the trash can or the shingle. There was something.
The shingle. What the heck are you talking about?
The shovel.
It was the shovel.
The rusty shovel.
There was something. And maybe that's Nelson that uses rusty.
Hit with the shovel.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway, yeah, I guess I was just shouting at my wife. Yeah. But like, I mean, it paid off big time for us to have, the bulldog, right? If you're not the bulldog, then your spouse is the bulldog more than likely, right? If you're married and listening. But that helped. And then of course her knowledge just of the space and the language of, dealing with the physicians and understanding the medications and when it needed to happen was just like incredible.
Yeah.
So, but I know in my heart that like these people don't have this. And if we can just like give a positive light in their world for even just like a moment, it's worth it. In my opinion, it's worth it. So that's where Live's Promise started, and that's why it started. She has promise, obviously. She has promise for a bright future, and we hope that we can give others that same promise for their future. So that's why it's called Live's Promise.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is absolutely true. I remember the moment I was told my mom passed away, and it was the phone number that called me. I'd get mad at every time it came up on my phone telling me my mom died. It was my stepdad. I didn't like when he called me. I was mad because it brought me back to that moment of, I never want to be in that posture again.
Yeah.
It was bad. Everything about it tasted bad, smelled bad. And there it is again and again and again. I would get so mad, and it broke my heart that I was mad because he didn't know, had no clue. It just was, that was the vehicle that gave.
You've just associated that with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I mean, even through this battle, and I'll even remember, Hayden, in life, you remember those few moments.
Yeah.
The moment at Lake Placid now, you're getting ready to do 140.6, which isn't a small race. I mean, it's the big granddaddy on the hardest course in Ironman, arguably. And it was I believe the Saturday leading up to it. And you're texting me, where are you? I'm at the swim. I'm here. Where are you? I moved. I'm over at the bike. Yeah. And you finally just said, stay put. I need to talk to you. And it was right in front of that gas station at the corner where you walk in.
The Exxon station, sure.
Yeah. And I see you coming walking across the street in tears. And my heart was breaking because I'm like, oh my God, is this going to be bad news? And he just hugged me and whispered into my ear, she's cancer free. She's cancer free. And you had the bands you were giving out to the team. Like it made my whole oh my God, like we've fought and fought and fought. We've, but we've are just in the background trying to be there for you. You fought and your family fought. And when you see the Gerhardts come, they usually come in the pull wagon. And there's candy galore. And the funny thing
there is candy galore.
The funny thing is they all know me now. Like they know me as the donut guy, the sweets, the gummy bears. They like come up and
Utz cheese balls guy.
I have to say to Morgan, I'm like, is it all right if I give him a couple? Like, she's like, a couple, it's okay, And, but
dude, don't let her fool you. She's the candy girl.
But when you told me that,
yeah,
the whole day tilted.
Yeah,
and the next day you were racing in her suit. You had a giveaway for the suit that I think Capitano might have got or somebody got, but it was legitimately like a massive celebration.
Yeah,
that the day you get to find out your kids are there, they're all deemed healthy, she's deemed healthy, and they're going to watch daddy do a 140.6 and you have probably a weight of the world just lifted off your back.
Yeah, that was I'm sorry for anybody who thought that race was hard. I thought that was the easiest 140 miles of my life. I'm like crying already again. But I did. It felt really easy.
Because you think of what your hard was that day.
Because you're lifting it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you looked at what her hard was.
Yeah. No,
it's not even a comparison.
No, there's not there's not going to be another day that I'm like, that was so hard, and that was just the start of it, I think. And I used to, you finish a race or you finish something like 4x4x48, whatever. You finish your first marathon and like you're in pain and you're like, oh man, that sucks so bad. Like, I don't think I will like ever say that again. And it's just not, it's not possible because like in my brain, in my heart, and in my life, like stuff that, that I know that she's gone through, it's just there's nothing that can even come close to it. There's nothing that can come close to it. And that I didn't I just enjoyed that whole day. I like that you say it was a celebration because I say that to all my athletes like who are racing. I'm like, yo, this is just a celebration of your fitness right now, and it is to some degree or I should say it was to some degree for me that day. Not really, like I didn't carry a ton of fitness into that race, believe it or not. But it wasn't a celebration of fitness. It was still a celebration. It was, a celebration of, being cancer free, a celebration of, a step in the right direction for our family. And, we do this hard stuff and you think it's hard. It's just like, think big picture, I'm not trying to preach or anything, but think big picture. Like it's not hard. This is not hard stuff. It's a tool to like figure out what you're made of, which is great. And I love it for that. But, I don't think this is hard stuff. And I've said this for forever too. Like some of my family will be like, oh yeah, this is Hayden. And oh, he does this stuff. Isn't that crazy or whatever? And I'm just like, dude, relax. Like anybody can do this stuff. Anybody can do this stuff. If you're sitting on the couch listening and you haven't like been able to walk up your flight of stairs, you can still do this stuff. Like anybody can do this stuff. It's not hard. Just because you don't run doesn't mean you can't run. Just because you don't know how to swim doesn't mean you can't learn how to swim. Like this is not hard stuff. It's fun. And when you race, I don't remember what you said, but you said something earlier. You're like, when you race, you go through it and the race will fight back. And maybe you said it. Yep. The race hits you back. It always does. Right. And you go through hard stuff in life. You go through hard stuff in races. These are like metaphors to just like build you into a better human and build you into a stronger father, husband, brother, whatever it is. Just make you a stronger person. But yeah, I mean, you have to go through hard stuff. I'm not saying like, oh, you must go through the craziest, death in the family or cancer or this and that. make it a race. Sure, races are hard. Anybody can do it, but sure, they're hard.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll just make you more resilient. It'll make you more resilient. So like when this stuff does happen, because life is not fair and it happens, when this stuff does happen, you'll be better equipped. You're not going to deal with it perfectly. Like I didn't. I didn't even come close to dealing with that perfectly. I still lose. I've come close to losing really close during this podcast. I still do some days. Like it's sad. It's scary. Like we have, we go back to some of these moments that we're talking about, and you guys can see, like it just like it stirs stuff back up in me. And we're human. That happens. But if you do go through hard things, you figure out like what you're actually made of, like what you can actually go through, and what, not even just that, not like what you can go through, but like what you can fall back on to get you through. And if you don't have anything to fall back on, then you have to start doing hard things. Like you have to, because you'll learn a lot about yourself if you're out on a course for 10 hours, for
Absolutely.
12 hours, for
trains
18 hours.
Trains the brain and the body to deal with adversity, and emotional adversity as well as physical adversity, as well as, the understanding that you can keep going.
Yeah.
The understanding that there are always options.
Right.
And the understanding that if you put the work in, you will be okay.
Yeah.
And you'll get through it. Right.
Yeah.
And there's 1,000 other things that are out of your control in all of these moments. There's 1,000 things that are out of control during a race, right?
Yeah.
You can't control all of that. You can only control what you can control. But training that hard, as we do, as our athletes do, as the people around us do, does help them be able to build those skill sets, which doesn't make hearing that your child has cancer or seeing those other kids in those hallways any less impactful on you. It's just you have a better coping mechanism.
Absolutely.
You have more tools in the toolbox.
Absolutely.
You have ideas that you can do and outlets that you can make that help things hopefully be better, which is exactly what you're trying to do for other people.
Yeah.
And that's 100% how this helps build up community, helps build up our sport, helps build up a community and helps build people up to be more resilient in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, I mean, it goes both ways too. That's a two-way street. Like the sport builds up community to help people be more resilient in life, but then those people also go through hard things in life. Like we're all probably, I say probably because we're not all, I guess, but we're all probably close to like pretty type A people. Like we have to get our bike in and it needs to be this long and I have to hit these hills.
If I get 4.97, I have to do 5 miles.
Sure.
Like
you got to
go a little more so you can flip your watch off at the end of the run.
Let me run around in the parking lot in circles by my
junk
car.
miles if you need them.
Yeah, like small things like that. Like we
need to be green on your training peaks.
Yeah, right. Like chill with that. Actually, like you don't have to be green. You like just chill with that.
I was saying it as some people say it.
No, I know.
Kate Hawley.
You said that, not me. You said that.
We
not
both
me.
coach Kate. We know her.
But I mean, like I don't know exactly where I was going with that, but we all have like things that we have to do in life. Like we're all probably type A or to some degree type A kind of people. Mm-hmm. And so like hard stuff happens to people like that because you need things to go a certain way. So even if it's just your perception of what's happening, like it's going to be a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So then the challenge you could then go through in life because you're this type of person, now it's helping you in your sport. And it's like when you're in those hard moments, now you're not just thinking, oh man, my foot really hurts. Now you're thinking, well, I dealt with this crap the other day, or my kid had cancer for 9 months of her life before she could walk. Why am I complaining about this? Mm-hmm. Like you don't think in the moment it's happening. You don't think, oh man, my back hurts. Like I used to. I don't anymore.
Give a shit about that. Right?
Get over it. Your back.
Yeah. I'm not saying like necessarily completely get over that type of mindset. Like we all are at different spots in our journeys, but life happens, races happen. They're both hard things. When the races happen, like I will never think that what I'm doing is hard. I will never like even today, any tears that I'm shedding are not for me. They're because I know what my daughter went through. Mm-hmm. You know, like I'm not gonna cross the finish line and be emotional for, oh man, all the work that I put in. No. That's just not how it is anymore for me, because I went through some hard stuff in my life and I know what my daughter went through. So, you know, I'm going to continue to do hard things because I'm going to continue to learn and build my own foundation for my life so that I'm a better person in my real life, outside of training, outside of sport, outside of doing a race, right? That's why I'm doing it now, so I can continue to just become a better human for the people who need me day to day. You know, my family, my students, and anybody else, my athletes, all these people. So
we were sharing early on that Bible study. I was at church right when this happened, and it was, I can't remember the verse or what it was, but the gist of it was what God's secrets are his secrets, and what's revealed to us are ours. And the pastor said, I'm going to have a lot of questions for him.
Yeah.
Why a 9-month-old?
Yeah.
Why? Like, and it's hard to make sense of it, but maybe the why was, I need Hayden, who fights like hell in everything and he does, to stand up and fight like heck for all these other kids.
Other people.
Yeah. So you try to balance it and you try to make it feel light.
Yeah, dude, I mean, I think you're spot on, at least with the thought process now. I mean, it's still really fresh, and I've prayed about that. I've meditated on that, like why this has happened. And I think I might think right now, like, oh, this is because I can lead my family and we can help other people. And like, maybe that is what it is right now. Maybe that's all it will ever be. But I think why this happened, like, we're not going to know fully for quite a while. I'll probably never know it on this earth. That's completely fair to say. And I actually agree with that. But like, the reason it happened, I have a feeling is just going to become more and more like visible in my life, in my family's life, in her life for a long time. Mm-hmm. And right now it's, you know, it's whatever is happening with Liv's promise. It made me a stronger person. I know it made my wife a stronger person. I know it brought my family closer together. You know, that's a benefit.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have to look at, go ahead. You know, there's also a phrase out there that says God's never going to give you anything you can't handle. You just don't know it in the moment. Yeah, you're like, why me? I'm like, well, because you can handle it. It's going to be hard. It's going to be tough, but you can handle it. And whether you're handling it, so you really have to look at it like an investment into you, even though people tend to think investments are cool things and great things. It is by testing you, by pushing you and making you a better person in that regard. By one, you now have a higher level of tolerance in what's going on in the world and what's going on around you and what will go on in your life, the rest of your life. You're also able to take on more responsibility because you're reaching for it. You're grabbing responsibility to take on some of the pain and suffering and maybe make it a little easier for some of those other people that are going through something similar than you. So if not you, who, and why not you? Mm-hmm. It's you. Mm-hmm. You're picked. So you're in, and now you've responded positively to it. You're creating positive energy from creating the foundation by having the ruck cancer and having people turn out all over the city to come to North Park and to contribute to enjoy the community of people that are, you know, wanting to support Liv and her promise and the work that money's going to help do down the road, right? Unfortunately, we're in a financial world that needs money to make things go round, so we're making things go round, right? But we had a great day at the event, but that's because this was put on you because you can handle it. Yeah. And those out there that are listening, if your challenges and your problems are put on you, it's because you can handle it. Just stick with it, think through it, work past it, seek help, get counsel, reach out to people, and they'll be with you all the way. Yeah, you're right. I guess also speaking to the Ruck event, you guys were the first and most vital
sponsor and support for that race. So really appreciate you guys. But I'm not surprised, and nobody listening is surprised either. So thank you guys for the support for that race. But yeah, I mean, I think you're probably right. I'm not going to say you're right. I don't know. Like I said, I think that stuff will be revealed in time and ultimately, later in life. But you're definitely right in the process, and just conceptually, like, you're given hard stuff. It's because God knows that you can deal with it. You might not be able to deal with it for the short term. I'm still not dealing with it perfectly, but you can deal with it. Now, will you deal with it? That's up to you, but
correct.
Can deal with it. And that's just, again, like, what a metaphor for the sport too, right? Any sport is such a great metaphor. There's such great metaphors in sport for life, but this sport specifically, right? It's just such a long, if you look at the Ironman, right? Such a long freaking race. So much can go wrong. Something will go wrong, but you don't know what it will be. But you're in there.
It can be the gift that keeps giving.
That's right.
Yeah, right. You're in there because you can finish it. Mm-hmm. You're in that race because you can finish it. Will you finish it? Well, depends on what goes wrong. Depends on how you deal with what goes wrong. But you're in the race because you can do it. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, again, just that's one of the best things about sport, I think, is like there's just so much you can take from it, especially this sport. Like, I've fallen in love with just like endurance sport for that reason too. It's just like, it's cool to like lift a bunch of weight and do that. I don't get like the high off of it anymore. I still do it because you should be doing it, right? Everybody should be doing it. But yeah, you learn so much about yourself during endurance sport, whether it's if you're fortunate enough to have the sub-3 marathon, good for you. That's still 3 hours that you're in your own head. If you're running a more normal, 4 to 5 hour marathon, then you got a lot of time to be thinking about what's going on in your life.
Checking the inventory.
Yeah,
That's
it's like stuff goes wrong and hits the fan. What comes to your brain, and why is it that first? And reflect on that. So I love that about endurance sport, and you just learn so much about yourself. So.
Well, it was funny because one last comment on this, and then I want to find out where you're going to be in 2025.
Yeah, I got nothing but time, dude. No rush.
One of the athletes saw him in his first race coming down like on the bike, and they're like, he looks like a runaway beer truck because you were lifting.
Yeah,
because you're smaller than you were when you first came. You were stacked, and he called you a runaway beer truck.
It was like the Frigid Five.
It was the
Frigid Five. You were stacked, man.
Well, dude,
I think you were wearing like 8 layers too. So,
dude, that's in January. That's like bulk season.
Yeah, you were bulk. He saw you running up the hill. It was Boyd. I think it was Boyd.
Grow big sauce on all meals. Right.
Oh yeah. He's like, he looks like a runaway beer truck.
Oh, dude, I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Boyd.
So where will we see you in 2025?
All right. So
for the listeners, they're all wanting to know.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. To the listeners, before the cast, I asked when this would be released because I didn't tell my wife all this stuff.
We love you more. We're focused on your 13.1.
By now you should know.
Yeah.
By the time this drops.
Oh yeah,
you should know, Morgan.
Somewhere late in 24, maybe early 25, this will drop. So, number 1 is I'm doing 100K Rabid Raccoon.
Okay.
So
nice.
And that's like my first
62 miler.
Yep, March. That's my first dip into that space. But like, I know that space. Like I just,
you're the engine behind Team Tandy.
And a couple others
Team
too.
Tandy, Team Foss.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
A couple others in there. Right?
Yeah. Like so, I know that space. My life has not, I have not found the priority, I should say. I've not found the time to prioritize like doing that. So this season, I'm just like, well, why not? So I'm just going to do it. I want to do it, and I'm going to. So 100K Rabid Raccoon, March. Next is going to be, this is crazy stuff. Next is going to be full Pittsburgh.
Heck yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then after full Pittsburgh.
You might be in there with Kate.
Well.
There you go.
I don't know if that's like public knowledge, so I'm not mentioning that. But
It's December. You'll be good.
Yeah, it's December.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm her PR person.
Okay, yeah. No, she's definitely ripping Pittsburgh for sure, which will be a lot of fun. So those two, and then this lineup is crazy, and this is a do as I say, not as I do kind of a deal. If you're listening, I'm doing Eagleman,
June,
and Penn State,
July 1st.
Yeah,
ish, whatever that weekend is.
No. They changed.
It moved.
Eagleman and Penn State are back-to-back weeks. That's why I'm saying to do as I say, not as I do. So
mid-June, okay.
And I'm prioritizing Penn State because I crashed when I raced Penn State.
You're getting a pound of flesh off that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And to define crash for the listeners, he literally crashed his bike.
Oh yeah.
You came off the bike.
Sorry. Yeah. I did not
that wasn't like a bonk
during the run or something.
No, that was a crash with a physical crash with the bike.
I crashed my bike.
And then ran the 13-1 with a busted hip almost, right? You didn't look good.
Actually.
You didn't look good,
Yeah,
but you made it.
Fun.
He had CTE for sure. He was calling me Rusty. He's like, hey, what's up, Rusty?
So we'll have to get
Don't
him the
say
new.
that. No, my wife's going to freak out.
Just like the pro football players, we'll have to have one of those padded sleeves that goes over his helmet on the bike from now on. Right?
We should break that
with the Victory logo on each side, right?
Our lineman wears it, number 78. He just went out for the year. Daniels, he has it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're wearing them. They're like concussion protocol like sleeve that goes over their helmet.
Well, what the heck is Tua wearing?
He barely plays with a helmet.
He's got to retire, man.
Yeah.
He's got to retire.
Okay, we're gonna get one of those designed for you with the Victory logo.
I thought this back half was an NFL podcast. Okay, so I say I'm prioritizing Penn State because I don't know if I'm 100% going to do Eagleman, but I want to because I like to race. And then I'm going to do Ohio because my wife, her sister, and my brother-in-law are relaying.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Morgan's relaying.
Morgan's going to do the half marathon, and I'm going to do I'm going to do the full, which is going to be a lot of fun. So, and then I'm trying to think if there's anything else in there. I like Akron Marathon. I wasn't able to do it this year because I had to go to a family wedding that same day actually. And so I'd like to race that also. That's a lot though. So, I'm not like some ridiculous, crazy athlete. That might be too much. And if it is, I have no problem like pulling out of one of.
Who knows? There might be a Ironman 70.3 World Championship in Spain in there in October. There might be a AZ full in November.
He's going to do High Rocks.
Right?
It's coming.
Or a couple High Rocks in there.
I'm intrigued by High Rocks for sure, but
Sipple wants to coach it.
I bet Sipple would be really good at.
He's going to go to it.
Yeah. He would be.
Well, we're dropping it later, so
he would be good at anything he does. Let's be honest, but that is probably like his.
Did you see his thing the other day? He burned like 700,000 calories, and he did the equivalent. That he could eat 43 Big Macs and not gain weight. It was on his story. Whatever he did, it was his hell bike week. He rode like 700 miles.
Oh yeah,
and he did the equivalent of calories burned.
Oh my gosh,
43 Big Macs.
I don't think it works that way, but okay.
Yeah, it does not work exactly that way.
I'm going to follow on the side of Sipple. I'm going to follow his.
I think his blood would just like congeal if he ate that many Big Macs.
Well,
he would get gout.
Doesn't Zwift do that too? Like they tell you how many pizzas you burn.
Oh yeah,
slices of pizza.
Slices.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. Why? Anyway.
Well, it sounds like you got a big stack.
Yeah,
coming,
I do.
Right?
I do.
And you're triple threading. You're doing the trifecta there in the June-July timeframe on 3.
Yeah,
70.3s back to back to back.
I mean, if you're prepping for a big race, you have a big weekend either right before or like a week and a half before.
Oh, you can do it.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
I think you told the whole audience you can do it.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. So you can do it.
I know that I can, but hey, since this is being released in a while, here's another thing that I didn't say earlier. The other reason that this is tentative is because we're having another baby.
Hey.
Congratulations. All right.
Yeah.
Team Hayden.
Team Hayden's getting a whole basketball team going there.
I know. This will be 4.
It used to be man-to-man coverage. It's now zone coverage.
Zone coverage. Right? You can have zone coverage.
Zone coverage. It's more like, please give me another timeout. Please give me the timeout.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Well, congratulations to you and Morgan.
Heck
Outstanding.
I asked her if I could say it because I assumed it would be a
little bit later,
released in a couple months.
See, that's the right way to do it. So he's thinking, okay, if Morg hears this before she knows my full race schedule, but then a couple minutes later I said we're having a baby and how much he loves it. Like, that's the right way to do it.
You gotta polish it. Right?
We got life lessons from Ken Prizzuti. We got marital, good ways to handle it from Coach Hayden.
Yeah.
I love it.
We're making it happen.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for coming on the podcast,
Thank you,
telling your story.
Yeah.
I know you said at the beginning you were an open book. I think it was not easy to rehash some of this stuff because it stirred you up. But I think that the listeners out there in some way, shape, or form, or people that they know, can get a lot out of what you went through and how you described it and how you're working every single day to be a better man and to take care of business in your family and in the community that you live in. So we appreciate you so much being with Victory. We appreciate you coming in and telling the story today.
Yeah. No problem. It's not always easy to talk about, but I mean, that's life. We're all vulnerable. We're all emotional people. Just if you don't cry, it doesn't mean you can't cry. It just means you're really trying hard not to.
Not to.
Oh, yeah. We're all emotional. But this was good. It's good to talk about this stuff. So
absolutely.
I appreciate you guys having me on. I appreciate the conversation, and I'm very, very lucky and blessed to be a part of this Victory family. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So if you are not already following Liv's Promise, please hit him up on Instagram at Liv's Promise.
Yep.
And Hill Pursuit as well. And certainly follow the Victory Multisport Podcast and at Victory Multisport on Instagram as well. Thanks so much for listening. We'll talk to everybody very soon.